Be out clubbing, but we're not clubbing anymore. This is our church now of clubbing here in the wood shop. So how y'all doing? Good to see all of you. Tonight on the Wood Shop Live, we're going to be talking about how to clean up voids in wood. Like there's times when you have wood holes or whatever and you need to clean them up. And so we're going to look at some techniques on how to do that. Quite honestly, I've never done this kind of stuff before. This will be my first time trying, so we're kind of going to experiment together and see what sticks and what doesn't work too well. So let's get right into it. Let's go over here to the chair. I've been working on this chair. This is a musician's chair that I've been working on, based off a design originally concepted by Mira Nakashima, what they call the Concordia chair. So 3 legs and this kind of delta-shaped seat. And I really like the style of this chair. Now, basically, there's many ways of making a chair or anything like that. You could do all kinds of things when you're making your pieces of woodworking, and there's really no. Well, while you may use something like, let's say, the Concordia chair as a springboard or as the inspiration, let that be your springboard when you're actually going to make your own stuff. Go wild with it, make changes. You don't have to like do reproductions. Of course, there may be situations where you may be in a further in your career and hired to do reproductions. Then you want to be as precise as you can. But once you kind of have the basic form, you can then just go do whatever you like. Like I did for this chair, I did create some templates to use for the original chair. But as soon as I made the original chair, which is the 4 chairs ago, it all kind of went out the window after that, because after that it was like maybe the width of the wood wasn't the same, things were different, so you just kind of had to go with the flow, and I just kind of adapted and made changes as I saw fit, kind of like whatever suited my fancy. Maybe I'll put on one of them, I put a big 60-degree chamfer on the bottom to give it a little more svelte look. Here we're going for the full thickness of the 2 inches or inch and a half, and here in this case 33 inches, 33 millimeters in thickness. And on this one, I kind of changed it around a little bit in that I used a live edge slab for the wood for this. And so I just took the live edge and I'm using the live edge as the back of the chair. So this is a variation or aberration from the original design and the one that I've been making prior to this. But that's all right, because you should be able to do, you should feel free to do whatever makes you happy. Now, like I said, in today's video, we're going to talk about voids. And some people don't like voids. Some people want furniture that is perfectly clean. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like one of my good friends, man, he likes perfectly clean furniture. Doesn't want any knots. He just wants all long grain, just really clean, everything jointed tight. Me personally, I think it's much more interesting to see the voids, the defects, the problems of the coffee, the cracks. I like to celebrate those, right? I think there's something very, very exciting and interesting about those things. And in this particular case, we've got this kind of void, cracked void here. Maybe part of it was a little bit punky. Let's move it closer. Maybe it wasn't really punky because it's not like black, right? It didn't get really ugly. But here we've got this crack here, and I kind of cleaned it up a little bit, just kind of broke it through more. And now it's time to, like, now that this chair has kind of been dry fitted, it's time to finish it off and really start to work on it to get it ready for, the final whatever it needs to be done. So as you can see here, there's a lot of just kind of dirtiness, just kind of, not smooth. So I want to smooth it out. Plus these could be a little bit sharp. Like, I don't know if it'd be comfortable if you sat on these and caught. So we want to round those over, make everything nice and clean and just pretty. Just make it all pretty, so that when finally we do all the finish sanding later, the finish can go on really, really easily. So that's kind of what we're going to do today. Let's bring it over to the workbench. Let's come over here. Workbench is over here. As you can see, I've been working on another project here as well. This is a lounge chair that is, it's kind of like a mid-century lounger. with the kind of mid-century modern design, as you can see right here. This kind of 10-degree angles, you know. I really like this idea of the chair. And how this one started was several months ago. I was at a place called Timberline Ridge Sawmill, just wandering around all of what they had, and I saw this piece of walnut sitting just on on the side, and I was like, it's kind of interesting. Now it's kind of pricey, right? I think $12 for this one piece. It's not very wide, but I saw this and I was like looking at it and I was like, man, that is kind of attractive. Like this is the top part. And I was thinking, you know what? This could be an armrest for a chair. And I was like, oh, and this is really the genesis of this idea. And I was thinking, I enjoy cigars, so I was thinking, I need a cigar chair. So I'll use this live edge piece of walnut to create the arm. And only be one arm. Only one arm will be this live edge. So basically it'll kind of go, the idea is that it's going to go something like this, right? And then this other arm will be just kind of a sculpted arm, naturally looking sculpted arm. But that's kind of where this is going. And this is my first time making this type of chair, so I've just really been kind of rough cutting everything and just rough jointing. Some of the stuff is dominoed in, like these are dominoed here. The legs are domino, but the dominoes are weaker, right? Because I'm not using glue yet. So I'm just using like pocket hole screws here to hold it together. Some, framing screws here to put the center frame in here, just to build it together so I can, figure out what we're going to do. And then eventually when it's all figured out, like you can see that even here, the pieces aren't quite finished, right? There, it's all everything's very rough. But once it's all done, then I can probably, make templates out of everything. So they'll have like actual templates of all the pieces, and then finally join it all up and give it a test to see how it holds up. I don't know if I like certain aspects of it, like the way that I put this seat bottom here. There's a frame here for the seat bottom. I don't know if I like that, but we're working on it to figure out how that's going to work, and eventually it'll happen. And that's what it's all about. It's always about trying new things to satisfy your curiosity, really. And it's okay to be curious and experiment with things. You're gonna make mistakes. Like if you want to look at mistakes, let's look here. Like I did a measurement and I thought it was 386 millimeters from here to here. So I cut these, and it looks like I cut them pretty darn accurately, right? Because they're all even, but unfortunately, it looks like it's really more like 390 millimeters long because there's a gap, but the gap is even between all of these. And it's like, how do you make these kind of mistakes? I don't really understand it. This is the difference between someone like Thomas Mosier and people and myself. So now let's get to the chair and see what we can see. Let me change the camera. I'm gonna come over here. All right. So we've got our chair. Let me take this apart. This is the backrest. And here we have our back leg. And then the front legs are just, they are dominoed in. but they're just, they're just dry fit. Everything's just dry fit at the moment, so it should all come out. It's always nice when these don't come out because we need to work on the other side. Thanks, appreciate that. What is that cracking? Oh, it's not cracking, it's just tight. It's a little bit hot and humid, so it looks like some of the dominoes are maybe getting a little bit tight. That's very tight. I don't normally sand down the faces of the dominoes because I don't want to lose surface adhesion when we finally go to the glue up. So I'd shave down the sides to give us more space, but wow, these are really in tight. They're in tight enough that I feel like I probably could damage them trying to get them out. Gosh. Come on. Oh. Whoa, man, that is just difficult. This one is really, really wedged in there. What if I... Is it coming out? Last week we were working the other chair, re-gluing it, and broke the leg. Wow, this is really tight. Look at this thing. I can't believe it. Wow. Thanks, Festool. Holy smokes, that is just... I don't know if it's actually coming out or if the pliers are just slipping. Wow, that's really, this is really like... Whoa. Like, it doesn't really look like it's doing anything, I think. I kind of can't tell. We're trying to get this out of here. If I clamped on it there. I don't know if it's moving. Strike a line here, strike a line there. See if we can see it moving at all. Goodness. This is really something else. No, this is not even moving. My God. Makes sense that it's going to happen because I got to work on this, but we'll just put it this way and see what we can do. Now, as you can see here, this is where the voids are, right? And maybe we'll need a light here to give us more light on the subject. Okay, that's maybe a little bit better. So you can see it's a little bit rough in there, and we want to clean that out and make it nice. So one of the things we can use is brushes. I did pick up these Nylox brushes at the local Woodcraft. These are nylon brushes. These are Nylox brand. They're about $13 each. This is a 80 grit and this is a 240 grit. And then this one I picked up for $6 at Harbor Freight. So this is what is the brand? This is probably their Pittsburgh or Warrior brand. Very similar. Like, so these two are supposed to, I didn't realize at the time. I thought this was actually the 120. This was the 120. So I thought I'd had all three colors. So we had 80, 120, and then 240. But it turns out these both are 80 because in Harbor Freight land, this is actually 80. This color is 80. So it's like, okay, so I'm just gonna hang on to that. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna start by trying out this in here to see what kind of results we're gonna get. Now, one of the things you want to do as you're preparing to use any of these power tools, you want to make sure you try to have some kind of dust collection. So I've got a near field dust collector or dust blower collector here. I've got a bigger, MER 13 dust not collector, but dust filter there. And then I'm also going to be using a NIOSH 100 mask because you want to really work to protect your lungs and stuff like that while you're working in the woodshop. It's really, that's really the most important thing, is to protect yourself. So we've got this, and then I'm also going to get the drill. So I've got my old school DeWalt DW710, DeWalt DCD710, which is a 12 volt drill. And actually, you want to use a drill for this kind of application because the drill has a chuck, right? If you use a impact, these are not designed for impact chucks. So that's why you want to use that. So let's put on our PPE and let's get to trying it out. First with the Harbor Freight. And we're putting on the drill setting. We're going to clamp this down so that it doesn't move. If we look closely, it looks like we're having some good results. It looks a little bit smoother. This is where I concentrated the first run. So we're going to try more in there. So let's have a look. Oh, I think I broke that. So we are getting we are getting a lot of dust here from the brush, so let's just. One of the things that's really kind of difficult to get into the crevice here, maybe things all in the way. Maybe if we turn it this way, I'll have better luck. What I want to try is get down in there. Battery's probably dying. We might try a different drill. Maybe something a little bit harder. Okay, I think what I'm liking though is there's a lot of contouring because of the way the brushes are rolling in there. So the contour is pretty good. Let me turn this around. Right, so here's our you can kind of see the contouring in there, I think. Although it does look kind of fuzzy to me. This point could be a bit of a problem. Like I said, this is a seat top, so I need to work on making everything smoother. But I think that's good. We cleared out all of the fuzzy, or most of the fuzziness inside the crack here. That's really the main goal, is to clear it out. And this one's holding up fairly decently. I'm gonna have to get in there with some sanders, and this piece right here is all by kind of on its own. Probably have to shape that out. So that's kind of the approach by using these wire brushes in order to clean out your voids so that you get nice clean wood. And as you can see, there is striations here. You can see the grain of the wood. That's now exposed. So the key is now going to be getting the sander in here. So maybe using the Delta sander or the Delta attachment to the Rotex Oro 90, getting in there maybe with some hand sandpaper. You know, this kind of thing is going to make it a little bit more complex. But what really, for me, I think the main thing is to make all of this smooth so that it's very nice to sit on. And once we reach that level of smoothness, everything should be just right. Let me just put this back up here. So that's kind of the approach to cleaning out voids in wood if you have them and you want to try to preserve them as much as you can. I want to try to keep the grain of the exposed interior woods. I think it's interesting, but I also have to be conscious of the fact that people are going to sit in it. So we also want to protect people's butts from not getting splinters and things like that. All right, so that's pretty much it for this WoodShop Live. Thanks for tuning in. Back again, maybe next week with another topic on woodworking. If you have questions or if you have comments, please leave them in the comments down below. And if you have the time, maybe consider subscribing. So I hope you have a great one, and see you next time.